Hello and welcome, everybody. So, I decided to do an afternoon little chit chat and talk about a few things that are coming up and what's going on with the Guru Mama House and things along that line. So, welcome. Hopefully, people are around and or if you're watching the replay, thank you for watching the replay. For those who are watching for the first time, my name is Mary Jane Tracy. Hello, Kathy. And I'm a psychic medium, spiritual love of life coach. I'm an astrologer, and I love to get into what's happening. What's happening in the world, man? What's going on? So let's just take a little peek at what's going on. First of all, I want to talk about my spring sale. I got to do that. So I have a spring sale. It's 3 workshops for $200. One of the workshops is the shamanic astrology, and the shamanic astrology is taking the planets that you can see, because it's taking the way the shamans looked at the sky and how they interpreted the skies and how what we see. They didn't see Neptune or Uranus or Pluto because shamans didn't have a telescope and um, were unaware of those other planets. But were they? That's the other thing, because there's many different drawings and myths that you see of, because astrology's been around for over 10,000 years. It's been, there's been drawings of all the planets in our um in our cosmos, and before they even had telescopes. So that's very interesting. But this course is taking into the sun and the moon and Mars and Venus and Jupiter and Saturn. And so we talk about these planets and we talk about the earth. So we talk about the planets and the colors and the metals and things that are related to these planets, and tap into their personalities of what they are about and how we can utilize them. Just like we use the earth as, for energy and vibration, so too we can use the different planets to help us to tap into different, maybe different wants and needs and guidances to help us along our journey. So I'm going to have that course coming up, and we have a 1-day course which is spiritual cleaning. Is going to be a part of the package. And the spiritual cleaning is that we talk about taking care of our own selves. So how do you take care of yourself psychically? And so it's going to be a 1-day course. It's going to be from like 10 to about 4 on a Saturday. And we're going to go into how can we take care of ourselves psychically? How can we begin to take care of ourselves so we don't feel so inundated by all the crazy energies out there? I know for myself, being a Scorpio, double Cancer means I have a Cancer moon, a Cancer rising. I, you know, am very, when there's a big crowd or something and I have to go into a store, I really have to mentally prepare myself before I go in and make sure. And if you want to wander around, many times I'm not the person to go wandering around without some sort of an agenda. In when we're going shopping or we're going to an event, so it's a lot of energy, and I can just pick up on those energies. So I become very like closed in and stuff. So and how to do a spiritual cleansing and protect ourselves. So we have a 1-day class on that. Then the infamous karmic release. The karmic release is a 3-day weekend, Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. We dive into releasing our karmic ties. And this weekend really helps us to untie the knots that need to be untied, and they untie over time. So a lot of the meditations we do over 10 meditations that weekend of diving into the different parts of ourselves and um our chakras, and releasing that no longer is in our alignment, and to begin to work on those things that are no longer in our alignment. It's like shadow work, and so we do the karmic release. So those are the 3 classes that are in the workshop. It's $200 for all 3. If you're going to get them separately, it would cost you on average. I mean, just the karmic release alone is $333 is what I usually charge. So that's that. Now let's tap in before people are like, okay, she's just talking about her classes. What else is she going to talk about? Well, we had a new moon yesterday, and it was a partial solar eclipse, and today's the Beltane. And the two of them very beautifully coincided one with the other. One, with Eros, this erotic god of sensations and sensuality, and then the Beltane, which is a time of fertility and growth and abundance. This is a time when it's the midpoint between the spring and the summer. This is a time when we know that summer is coming. We are coming through the spring, and there is something we can look forward to ahead of ourselves, and we can step into all of this beautiful new growth, new energy that is coming before us. So this is a very beautiful day where they would celebrate. Community would come together, and they would build a big bonfire, jump over the fire. You'd have a young king and a queen. There'd be different events set up for people to come and begin to buy things and exchange ideas. And it was also a day that you know you were allowed to maybe have a little wink wink nudge nudge with the butcher or that other person down the way, because it was a day for free for all, so like a very giant orgy. So and that was before the Christians came in and tabooed it all and said, oh, no, 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 that can't be happening. So the Beltane is a very beautiful celebration, a celebration and very symbolic about rebirthing, about coming from the death of the winter time, to coming into the rebirthing of spring, coming into that of the folds of summer, the blossoming, the ripeness, the juiciness that what summer brings us. This is a time when we come into this beautiful energy of the god impregnating the goddess, bringing in the fertility of new life and new surroundings. So we are stepping into this new life and new surroundings. And with it, where we are now within our world, it's going to be bringing us a little bit of challenges. We have Jupiter at the end, this beautiful, magnificent energy, and he is the Lord of all. He is the God of gods. This is Zeus, right? Very powerful at the end of Pisces. So this could bring in a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of frustration. And he's at sextiling Pluto, which is at 28 degrees. And this is what we call an exiting um, sextile, because Pluto's retrograding, and and Jupiter is moving forward. So they're really exiting each other. This is a time when we look back at when they did meet in 2020, and what has evolved from that culmination of that birthing of the two of them coming together. Because when they were coming together, this was a time when Saturn went on further. Saturn went into Aquarius at the time, and Jupiter and Pluto got to sit there and figure out, what do we want to create? What are the new things that we need to do? What do we need to unravel within this world that needs to be shown? Now we have with the sextile is what has been shown, what is coming to light. And as Pluto, and Jupiter are coming in together, they are looking at what is happening in the world. And they come in as wise authorities. They know things. They come in with non judgment. That's the key one. Because Jupiter doesn't judge, and neither does Pluto. But what they want you to do is understand and grow. So we're coming into a time of real growth, a time that is going to get us to um, become uncomfortable. in this new growth and in this new birthing that we are going through, that we are coming into a time that is really seeding some new new ideas, new realms that we have never experienced before. And with that, of course, as I said, is going to be bringing in a little bit of uncomfortableness. And we're not very good at being uncomfortable. I know many of us are frustrated and we're fed up with everything that has happened in the last couple years. We are done. We are just wanting to move ahead. But here we are coming into a time that is really getting us to look at what is important to us in our life. What are our values? That's really where we're going back to that moon, is having us take a look at what is important and what do we value in our world. What is that we care for? And Jupiter really wants us to really take a look at it along with Pluto. They really want us to take a look at our values and want to take a look at our at what we are wanting to create in our world when we are going through a, an unstable earth, when we are going to be going through um, a lot of stresses in our lives and in the world around us. And we're going to either see it or feel it. And Uranus is coming in with these eruptions that is going to have us really look at things in new ways. And sometimes when you sometimes it's like you have something in your life and it's there all the time and you really don't notice it per se. And it gets moved. And sometimes it might take you a while to notice that it's been moved. So it's getting you to really be aware of your environment, to be aware of what is happening in your life, in yourself, in your body, and how are you feeling and how are you reacting to what is happening in the world around you. And trusting your vibration, your intuition on what is happening and what is unfolding for yourself. This month of May, is going to be a month of some big transitions, I believe. We have Mercury's going to be going retrograde on May 10th. And on the same day, Jupiter's going to be going into Aries. And we are going to be coming into where Saturn will be going retrograde as well. And Mars is going to be moving into Aries at the end, near the end of May. We are also this month is we're going to have a full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio. And we're going to have a new moon in Gemini. So we have a lot of energy that's coming in about change, about transitioning, about finding truth, about standing in your truth and standing in your values. We have where Mercury is getting us to really revise because he's going retrograde in Gemini. So revise what we know is true for ourselves, revise what we have learned that we need to unlearn in order for us to go forward. This is where we are coming into a time where we are going to be looking at a lot of the seedy underworld that we don't want to look at, that needs to be cleansed and cleared in the world, more so. And it's going to be present before us, as I'll say. So this time, it's really where I want people, and I know I've been saying this for a long time, and many of you have been listening to me for a long time, in what has been happening. But I feel things are speeding up more rapidly than um, than I thought. I knew things were speeding up, but I feel things are going a lot faster with the changes. They're happening on a more rapid basis. And I want you to be able to create more things for your life. I want you to be able to um, have more things for your own self in your life. This is where we are going through a transformation and changes in the world, and we all know that. So here's a few things. Here's just a few things. There's and I've mentioned them before. I mentioned them last night in my meditation. I mentioned them in other conversations I've had with people. Excuse me. I hope my nose isn't running. Is that when I spoke to people before about stocking up, now I want you to really start being and preparing for other things that are going to be unveiling in this mundane world. Things, that we are going to be um, not seeing, on the shelves. So I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I really want us to start looking at things like medicine. Medicine is something that I think we need to start looking at. If you're a herbologist or you love to grow herbs, fabulous time to grow extra herbs at this time and learn how to make your own tinctures. This is a beautiful time to look at different things or different medications that you need to have on hand. Things, and even vitamins. Like if there's a special vitamin that you really like, really start taking a look at if stocking up. Vitamins usually have a year shelf life, sometimes 2 to 3 year shelf life. Um, and even though there is an expiry date on them, doesn't mean that they go bad right away, but they they they're still good, but maybe not as potent as what they were when you first bought them. The other thing is to start to look at things other like medicines that we might have on the shelf. Things like Advil or Tylenol or cold medicine. That's one thing I noticed when I was going getting cold medicine for myself, and I had to get stuff for my son, that the shelves were pretty picked over. And I went to London Drugs, and I went to two different Shoppers Drug Marts and stuff. And so a lot of them were already picked over when it came to a lot of medicines. So this is a time to sort of start taking a look. If you shop at Costco or if you shop at, any of the superstores and stuff like that, start taking a look at items and maybe having an extra box or two of Advil or an extra box or even if you know, picking up the Buckleys like this expires next year. Woo, as I throw it at you. This expires. This is good for over a year. So, so if having it on hand, it's just handy. Having different things on hand right now um, is going to be important, especially as we go into the summer months. Now, the reason I'm saying this is that right now we're seeing atrocities that are happening in the world. One of the ones is what's happening with the lockdowns in, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm having to wipe my nose on a live. But one of them is having the lockdowns in Shanghai. And I said before, the lockdowns aren't for what they're saying the lockdowns are. I really don't believe that. And that's partially of how I see restrictions and freedoms, with Saturn in Aquarius and especially squaring the nodes is showing us that okay, there are within communities within the world, within the world order and stuff, there's going to be some places or communities that are going to have harsher restrictions being placed upon them. And so we're seeing that in Shanghai. Shanghai is one of the largest ports in China. It does a lot of the exports. The other thing is that we have to look at is that with Shanghai being locked down, they're locking down their workers. Now, their growth, their national production when it came for when they came out this quarter, it grew. So that means that their people are consuming goods, but they're consuming their own goods of what they have created. where places like the United States and Canada were in a negative, like a negative like 1%, 1.4%, meaning that they're not consuming there isn't the product there to consume. Now, it takes over 28 days for a freighter to get over from China to a port, say in California. Every day that they are locked down is adding a month on to when goods are being shipped out. So this is one of the things that we have to look at when we are looking at goods and services, or not so much services, but goods that you need or that you utilize, is that it might be harder for them to get over because it's adding another month delay on what you might already, to get here. Now there are supplies, but the supplies where like for instance, cod liver oil or fish oil. Those fish oils are there is a stockpile of fish oil that they have stockpiled for many years to come. Just an FYI. Okay. When the earthquake happened in Fukushima, many people were very afraid of, getting fish oil and stuff like that. Um, but a lot of companies have already done, stockpiling of fish oils way before that happened because people were afraid that within the fish oil there was radiation poisoning. So those are some things I know. So some things are stockpiled. They know they have them, but they're being depleted because of either workers or refineries of where they get it done, and that is slowing down production. So then we slowly see it as it comes to the shelving or slowly comes to the store, there is becoming less and less of the product. This is also where Pluto is at the end of Capricorn, getting us to really look at what is it and what is our truth. And then we have the sun in Taurus. What do you value? What do you truly value? What is very important to you that you want to create in your world? And doing it to your truth. As the outside, as we are seeing what's happening in the outside, remember that's a reflection of what we have on the inside. So many people reflect lack in their world. We're going to start seeing that lack. Here we want to start looking at, let's replenish ourselves with abundance of the love and the time and what we want to produce and what we want to do. When we start doing that more and more as individuals, we start to see that reflection starting to come out. But we are in this cusp or this transition time that is getting us to awaken to this, if this is making sense to you. And it has to come out in a physical way, even though because we live in a 3D world, we have to see it tangible in order sometimes for people to understand that we have to make changes. So things like palm oil. Now you don't think palm oil is a big deal, but palm oil is in a lot of ingredients and a lot of things that are produced. Now Indonesia is now restricting palm oil, and that's where we receive palm oil. So there's restrictions happening in Indonesia where they are not going to be shipping out palm oil. So we're going to see that. Sunflower oil. Well, with the Russian Ukraine, that's where most of the sunflower oil comes from. So there's going to be that happening too. And I know many of you are going to say, well, we have canola oil here, in Canada, and it's produced in Lethbridge, and we grow canola here. We also have to look at what's going to be happening with the weather and with El Nino coming in. El Nino is a weather pattern, and this weather pattern causes erratic weather patterns and droughts and things along that line. So we're heading into a seasonal changes of more droughts and hotter weather. So we have to take that into consideration. Other things like dog food. So if you are certain dog food that your dog eats, I would start looking at having in a couple extra things of dog food on hand for your animal, and same with cat food. Anything wheat, grain, or corn, which is probably 80% of a grocery store. So those items are going to be you're going to be seeing more dwindled and dwindled and dwindled onto your shelf. These things that are happening, and I know a lot of times it's not to get people to panic buy, but this is where I feel it is getting us to awaken, to see, and our communities, to bring communities together, to bring in new structures. What we need to do is to look at what are the new structures. We may not be able to do it on a big huge political platform, but we can do it within our own individual lives and the communities that we want to build. And we can build these communities and bring forth a more spiritual way of living, bringing things in for the highest good within a community. That's where, when I'm looking at, with the energies and the planets, it's asking us to come into whatever we do, which way is leading us to the higher road, which way is leading us to where we are more spiritually aligned with when we are doing what we are wanting to do. And this is where we have to really come into our bodies and come into our own alignment and our own fears and insecurities, and really start to look at more of those insecurities that we have and our fears that we have. The more we put out and project, of course, the fears and that, I feel that's more of what's going on. But the more that we look at and say, okay, this is what's happening, but step back at it and take a real look at the whole thing without judgment, and send in the love, send in the ho'oponopono. This is where we can start to begin to make changes in and around us. And it is going to be a task that is going to be taking us some time to do in these transitions. I feel in Canada, we're going to feel more of the crunch as it comes into July. May and June, we're going to start sort of seeing it. July, August, definitely. By October, November, it's going to be interesting. Now I'm going to put that word out there, interesting. If there are things that your children want for Christmas, start doing your Christmas shopping now. Because I can tell you, by the time Christmas comes, it's going to be a little bit harder than what it was last year in order and to get the items you want, especially if you are looking at any technology type of items and things along that line. It's going to be more difficult to get those items. So if your kid wants, some game or some Game Boy or whatever it is, I would start looking at getting it now than waiting closer to Christmas or their birthday or whenever it is, because it might be coming more difficult to get those items. Just saying. So we are in this time in an unstable earth that is bringing in where we are needing to bring forth the soil of our life and of our soul, so that we are able to plant the new seeds, the new transformations that are needing to come into this world. And we are the light workers and the holders of the light. So, on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you, because I know my nose is I'm going to start coughing in a minute. My voice is going. And I'm going to try and keep you updated more on other things that are happening, especially when it comes to things like food and stuff like that. In the States right now, some Costco's are restricting the number of items you can buy, like mac and cheese. Mac and cheese is one. Almond milk is another one. Sugar, I forgot to mention sugar. If you are a canner, if you are planning on doing any canning this year, start getting your sugar now, and you can put them in dry bins. So getting sugar and putting them in dry bins. Getting oxygen, these oxygen packages, you can put them in so it can help to keep the moisture and stuff out. And you can do that same with flour. So when flour is on sale, start getting it now. And if, especially if you're worried about bugs and stuff with flour, look into getting dry bins, and then you can, or canning it if you want, looking into canning your flour. But I find canning, for me, canning flour is like, okay, we use flour quite a bit. My husband does a lot of baking and stuff, so we use flour quite a bit. So canning to me is just, it's not a feasible thing, but putting it in a dry bin and then putting the packages in there to help with the moisture and stuff like that is probably a better use for flour for on my bit. But you can flour. So there's the flour, the sugar, the dog food, and of course meat. So we're going to be seeing more of the turkey and the chicken. The fowls, less and less being on the shelf at this time. So when you see it, stock up on it. That's what I've been saying for a long time. But I think now shit's hitting the fan, people, and it's coming in a lot more. You're going to be starting to see it a lot more in and around us. So the other part too, I know I said I was going to sign off, but because the solar flare activities are coming up, and I feel like they're very a lot more active at this time. Just to be watching how you're feeling, your nervous system, if there's any nausea, overwhelmness, stress, and stuff like that. Just recognizing that, headaches and things along that line. So, yeah, just coming into some crazy times and crazy energies that we are moving into at this time. So yeah, so I'm going to send you guys off with so much love. If you are wanting a reading, get a hold of me. I am doing readings, so we can figure out a time and get you in, and have a blessed one. And let me know if you're interested in the workshops, and if you have any questions of what I've been talking about. So we'll talk to you all soon, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Blessed be everybody. Bye-bye.